And we're also on YouTube. Welcome everybody. Let's move on. Let's go on with the game. Let me grab the chat from YouTube. Pop out chat. Bang. Docs. El Botion. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. All right, we got the chat from YouTube. We can go. All right, okay. So we're gonna do a couple of stuff today, but we're gonna start straight away fixing a crash. I was right here trying to start a match to start the stream, and boom, and it crashes. If I click this button, boom, we crash. It's actually an assert, so should be reasonably easy. So basically what it's complaining about is that I'm trying to play an animation where the duration is not correct. So let's see where we're triggering this thing. Play a UI avatar. Yeah, so basically I was betting that the time that the two animations had compatible times, but obviously they don't. So we need to be a little bit smarter here. What's wrong? My camera is off. All right. Thank you. All right. Oh, we also get to see my beautiful face now. All right. So obviously, yeah, I was betting on this thing to be true. It's not really true. So what is going on is that probably what we should do is to play the second animation at 0, waiting for the animation to start. So that could be a good way to do it, although then we might have the same problem here. So what we could do, actually, is it here that the problem happened? Yeah, it happened right here. So this will fix it. But then what we need to do is that once the animation gets there, we also need to reset the player. So save player time is also 0. All right, this should fix it for now. So match. All right, okay. Perfect. So this was easy. So fix assertion on animation change. Right. What are we going to do? Not extremely exciting stuff, to be honest. I need to do a couple of stuff that are, I need them before I move on. So a lot of to do with tooling and with the editor. So what we want to do is save, so the ability to edit lights and save to file. That's the most important part. Potentially we could do core number selection with lights. So we want to only turn on the lights where we're playing. And then we should do save this collision shape for jiggle bones. If we have time. I say this all the time, but this shouldn't be that hard. It's just those things that you have to do. So what is going on is that I got the new updated model where I ask Chucks to put lights in the court. And what is happening right now is that when I was writing the code to actually load and work with lights, I had this thing where it will turn off the lights. I also see here another problem where I have lights appearing as bones. This is interesting because I wasn't, and also the naming convention is totally wrong. It's a constant battle with graphics people to let them understand naming convention, but it is what it is. So one thing at a time. Let's turn off the thing where we get the lights. So somewhere in the editor, let me close all these things. Somewhere in the editor, I have that if there are lights, shut down the sun or something like that, something ridiculous like that. So there you go. So if lights are empty, do this, which is not really what we want to do, right? And so we basically do this regardless, right? Regardless of if it is empty or not. Right, so this should give us back lights. Right, okay, so now we have it. And in theory we have lights also somewhere here. And I think probably not, because actually it was very obvious the fact that we couldn't see anything. So that tells me that probably whatever settings we have for the lights is not really correct. Let's solve this problem here where now lights are appearing as bones. It shouldn't really happen. So let's go to our load node, probably. Load GLTF. And then we have something like, what is it, parse node or something like that. And I think what is happening is that it's assuming that if it's not a mesh, it's a bone. There you go. So it's assuming that if it's not a mesh, it's a bone. So what we can do, so what we got is node light. Right, so we could do something like this. So if node is none, so if light is none, so if it is not a light, then it's bool. Right, and this should, now we should, yeah, we don't have lights in the scene layout anymore, which is nice. All right. So now we have to do the actual work. So first thing is we need to decide where we're going to put this light thing. Now there is something in IM GUI that I was not aware of. And it's the fact that you cannot have like multiple lines tab control like this. Because if it was for me, I will have like a tons of this. Like one for light, one for whatever. So I'm going into this different direction where I'm trying to put everything here. So I used to have, for example, something for meshes, and now they live here. So, you know, the first thing you get is the layout with all the bones then you can close it, and then you have this kind of layout where you got the meshes. So we might have, so it's either going to be here or it's going to be a little bit dirty in the inspector, but you know, what I'm going is that here you select stuff and on that side you edit. Kind of makes sense to me. So it probably makes sense to have a list of all the lights in there. So let's go to scene tab, I think. Yeah, scene tab. And so here we go like this, and we can do pretty much the same stuff, right? We do like this, and then we can do some kind of self lights tab and pass the UI lights, right? And then this one we can I already have a light. Oh, that's interesting. I already have a light tab. Hold on, who is calling this? Scene tab is already calling light tab. How come I didn't see it? Hold on. Is it the one on the very top? I think it's the one. It's this one basically, with the sun speed. It makes sense. I mean, this is like something that I can get the sun to rotate, right? Is useful for working on characters. Because we can get an idea of how things react to light. I'm wondering if this stuff should be at the bottom down here with the lights. See, so we're calling it again. It probably makes more sense to be at the bottom. So yeah. So let's follow this concept here. So we got already this. So let's go with the list box. So UI list box. If I remember, I did it in a different way. What is list box? Yeah, I did it this way, which was nice because I didn't have to create too many strings. So like stub, so we can go like this. We can do a separator probably here. Okay, we're gonna need a selected light index. Okay, and let's also initialize it. Okay. So selected light index, and we're putting a self scene lights, lighting lights, right? So we're coming in with a light. And the next question is, do I have a name for the light? I hope so, but probably I don't. Yeah, so one of the problems that I have I think, so this lights, scene lighting, light. Right, so one problem that I have with this is that this is an enum I wonder what is this two-world light? What the hell this? I don't understand what this is supposed to do. Two-world light. What does it mean? I'm not even calling it. That's... I really don't understand what this is doing. Ah, right. Okay. It's okay. Transform point position. I think this was something that I used to attach the light to a camera light. So this is basically it's basically attaching a light to a matrix, something like that, without changing its position. So position is like a local position, and then we return something that is in word space. Right. Very, very unclear. Well, I don't think we're going to need this for the tennis game. But the change that I really would like to do here is more like turn this. So the idea, I think, is that we need to... Okay, I have two ways of doing it, but I don't want to do that. So I think the idea is that we should have light as a struct with a name, right? And then we should have a type, which I cannot use. And then we should have a light type, or a light, which is a light type or something like that. All right. Or we could use like the way Jai does it, you know, with kind. So light kind, right? So this turns into light kind. And I wonder if things like position could probably be, well, we only are going to have these two, so it's no point to obsess over this. So let's see this one. So set position. We still have to do this, but we're simply matching on kind. Right. We probably need to also have this as... Now it cannot be a copy because we have a string for the name. All right. So this is light kind. I should have done this as a rename. And this is a little bit more complex. All right. So one thing at a time. So this is getting a position. So kind. All right. So that's all good. So this is the tricky one, but it's not really that tricky because at the end of the day, this is like let kind equal all this jazz. Right. And then at the end, we're going to return. The annoying thing with this is that, so we need to rethink this, right? Because if I do it this way, if I return a light, it means that I will have to clone a string, which is not really something we'll do. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna get rid of this for now. I really don't think I'm gonna need it for this game, so no big deal. Now we're having some problems, obviously, where we are trying to create a light. So it doesn't work like this anymore. So this is going to be a light. Right, and this is going to be a kind, light kind. Okay, and we can import it. Okay, and we need the name. So name is L name clone probably. What is this name? Is a string, so to string. For option string, okay, so need to do a wrap or light XX. Just that sounds good. So this becomes same thing. So if it is a spotlight, we do same thing. So light, where the name is this guy, and kind is this. Okay, sounds good. What else? In the editor, okay, we need to block this 1 second. I want to make sure that the entire thing is building before we come back to the editor. So the renderer is matching, we just match on the light kind. Okay, are we building or we have some other problems? We have some other problems. Okay, in court avatar, I can delete this. So this is the lights that I was creating. Manually for our court, so I can get rid of this. Yeah, so far so good. All right. So now everything works. Yeah, everything works. So let's move on. So we were doing this. Now, new slide. We get the light, and now we have the name. So we can do this. Okay. All right. So we should have a list of all the lights. Just going to be down here. There you go. So here are the lights. The name is not what we want, because right now it's taking the name of there's something in the GLTF files that, so we don't. Okay, so the question is, can we grab because this is very annoying. I wonder what that indexed is 4. Let's have a look at it. Because that index could be the index of the light, which is pretty useless. But it could also be the index into the nodes buffer, which will be way more useful for us. So can we see L? Yeah, we can see L, and index is 0, which is not good. It's not good. It's a little bit annoying, because I think what I have to do, instead of doing this, so either I do this code in the same place I do the parsing. The problem is that my light vector is completely separated. Or I have to go through the entire scene. I don't think it's a big problem. So what I could... hold on. For n in S is not... hold on. I have n. Okay, I have n. So I'm just doing something stupid. So n, name, here you go. That's solution to my problem. All right, that's our lights with the wrong names, but we will live for it. We will live with it for now. They were supposed to be called with the number of the court, but whatever. Right. So the next question is, when we select this, we want to see the lights here, like exactly like we do with the meshes. So I select the mesh, boom, and it appears here, right? So but the thing is that selected mesh index, yeah, is an I. So I'm doing the I32 trick, and I think I should do the same for selected light index, right? So it should be something like this, right? Or I could do it in a more Rust way. Yeah, let's do it in a more Rust way. So option usize. So that means that we cannot do this, right? So we need to create selected light. And this is going to be a self selected light index where we unwrap it, or 0, as and its usize, yeah. And so we pass this one, right? And if we click if we click, we do self selected light index equals some selected light. Okay, fair enough. Then much more clean way to do it. All right, then we have the part where we need to write down I forgot where it was, here. Here, selected mesh, okay. So probably we should really extract this to a function. Self inspector tab. I'm calling everything tab. Doesn't really make sense anymore. But everything used to be a tab control, but it's not anymore. But I keep this tab. So let's make this into a function. Inspector tab, and it's a mute self that gets. It was suggesting, yeah. All right. So what are we missing here? Okay, probably I can write the code to start it. Here. Then call this. Right. Something like that. Which is pretty much what I'm doing here, right? So here I just have the actual code. All right. It still wants the game to do this stats, but we can also do that upstairs. Yeah, we can also do it here. So we don't have to pass stuff around. All right. So far so good. So here we go like if let's sum light index equals self-selected light index. Okay. So how does it work? So if I'm rendering this, I'm writing light, right? Probably with a separator. Right. And then I'm, let's grab the light. Index, right? And UI text. It's just the name, light name. Okay, and then we can write down, we can match on the kind, light kind. All right. And hold on, because we actually need mutable access. Can I? Yeah. Okay. So if it is a spotlight, which what it is right now, we write the position without really. Do I want to change the position of the lights? For now, let's say we don't. So let's say that we just write it down. Position is position. UI text format. Okay, what we really want to do is the color. So color, would definitely want to edit this. Color edit and color and feeling that for the other colors I'm using color 4. I'm not sure it makes sense. Color edit 4. Am I using this? The problem here, it makes sense to have a color 4. For light, doesn't have it. It doesn't have any sense. So it should really be a color 3. All right. So what do you want? So you want that, and then you want the value, and the value is an array. So how we can do this? So we're gonna need this color array, and this is going to be our color, which is already a vec3. Okay, but we still have to go to array, back and forth. Right. Color array, right? And if it changes, we set it. Color array into, I think. Right. I cannot assign color, which is behind. Yes. Okay. That's good. One thing that we're going to need here is we're going to need something to turn off because basically what I want to do, I want to be able to turn off the sun so I can really see what the lights are doing, what a particular light is doing. So up to now, what we have is this. So now, boom, it goes here, and we get, this is the color, this is the position. The position, let's make it to the millimeter. I have a feeling that the lights should have some kind of on-off thing. So first of all, how I turn off the sun, right? So that's not difficult. It's something that we were already doing somewhere. It's not difficult. The problem is that we also want to be able to turn it back on. So I think I need to remember this stuff. So I need to remember the ambient color. And when it comes to the sun color, I think we're using the default. Yeah, I don't want to overthink this. So hold on. Let's say that we remember the ambient color. So default ambient color, right? All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that default ambient color is scene lighting ambient color. Right, but we probably need to do this before, yeah, before we move the scene. So before this one. Okay, so now we have the default ambient color. I could go the same route and go like default sun color. Do exactly the same thing. Where are we? Where is it? Lost it. Here it is. Default sun color is scene lighting sun color. Very well. Okay. This allows me, when we do the selected light, this allows me to put like a button if button, right? Switch sunlight, something like that. Right? So if we do this, what we could do is if self scene lighting sun color is 0, so if we do this, then it's self default sun color and self scene lighting ambient color is default ambient color. All right, and lighting sun color. All right, that should allow it. Hey, I've been thinking with Rust and thinking of making a game with it. I've been doing software for a long time, but Rust are only been properly picking up more recently. How is feel using Rust for game dev? And what EM GUI binding are you using? It could feel cumbersome for making a game, but it really depends a lot on what is your style of programming. So if your style programming is full of, I don't know which language you use, but if you use something like C++ or C#, look inside your classes of your structures. If your classes and structures are full of references to something else, then Rust could be really painful. So if that's your style of programming, Rust will make it really annoying, right? I use a lot of language, but none that makes ball checker feel familiar to work with in any way. That was the thing that I think is the, I was very unlucky. Like, for example, the first thing that I tried to do with Rust, which is something that I tend to do with at the beginning with every language. Well, I don't do it anymore because Rust kind of discouraged me from doing it. I tried to create a simple like tree graph structure, right? Where you have a node that has a pointer to a parent, and that's like a list of other nodes that are children, right? That's like super trivial in something like C# or Java. It's reasonably easy in something like C++ or C if you start from the concept that, well, C, no, because you cannot have like the typical 90s style scene graph thing where every or like Godot, right, is organized that way. Like every node could be a camera, could be a mesh, something. So you need some kind of inheritance. That kind of stuff, especially having that pointer to the parent, it's something that Rust really doesn't like. Doesn't like at all. So it's doable, but yeah, you jump straight into something in Rust called interior mutability, which is kind of a way to go around the borrow checker. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I don't use it anywhere in my code. So I just learned to structure my code in a different way. So I don't have the pointer to the renderer. I don't have so I'm passing these things around all the time. So if you see my code, if something needs a render, it gets passed in as a parameter to the function that does something. So it's something that could drive you completely crazy, or something that you could adapt and find it positive for the rest of your software. It also, I think, depends a lot on the kind of game you want to do. I always say, my games, for one reason or another, I always seem to fall into these games that don't really have a variety of entity types. So, I do things like racing games where you really don't have a lot of entity types, right? You have a car, you have cars, you have a track, and you don't have a lot of stuff. I did like a sailing game, same stuff. You got the boat and you got the sea, and that's it. And now I'm making a tennis game where you got the players, you got the ball, and that's it. Right? So I don't make like a roguelite where you could create a monster that has a combination of components that allow you to create a lot of variations. So probably for me, Rust is a better fit for this kind of problem. Right. So it really depends. The answer is depends. It depends. But you definitely need to go with an open mind. You have to go willing to accept that. It's gonna be months. It's gonna be months of, why I cannot do this? What is happening? My impression so far has been that Rust borrow checker is awesome for anything I want to run with parallelization. Yeah, it almost comes for free, right? Really annoying. There is no escape hatch. Well, there is, there is the unsafe. So there is the unsafe. If you check the stream I did, I think it was Saturday. I actually go at a certain point through an example of saying, okay, actually we could do this with unsafe, and I go and I do it with the unsafe. So basically you grab a pointer to whatever you want, and at that point you can do whatever you want with that pointer. So in a way, like if there is a situation where I'd rather do that probably than use the interior mutability, so the ref cell or things like that, because at that point it's like, okay, I'm going unsafe here, I'm potentially crashing, so I'm fine with it. But for example, for this game, I think the only place that I'm cheating is this device in my Vulkan thing. So here we are deep down in my Vulkan implementation, and I have this data structure that contains all the, the device, the surfaces, the swap chains, like the basic stuff of Vulkan that I need pretty much everywhere. And I really didn't want to send this thing around. So I cheated big time. And I did basically get... what the fuck is it? Yeah, device. There you go. So the way I did it is basically with something that is strongly, this is the not encouraged in Rust, which is basically a global, a static mutable variable. And then I have a function that basically it gives me, so in order to read this in Rust, you need to go through this unsafe. So I just wrap it around this function that just gives it to me. And I use it everywhere in this file and in another file, but that's pretty much it. So it's very limited, but I really didn't want to. So in a way, it's you're almost like a singleton. It's not really a singleton in the sense that it's manually initialized by this. So if I call this device before I call this, it's a crash, which is fun. And now I'm really tempted to do the same thing with my audio engine. I have this thing where I really find annoying to having to send the audio engine around to do audio stuff. You know, it's like, it's fundamentally a singleton, especially in a game like this where I am pretty much single-threaded. I'm not really doing any advanced stuff in multi-thread, so it's a global variable. But the result of that was a crash. The result of that was a crash. What are we talking about? Audio engine seems like a reasonable thing to have as a global single. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, those are. It's so liberating. And if you are in something like the thing you want to do is you want to go like wherever you are in the code, you want to do like audio play sound. I just want to play a sound. You know, just do it. Don't let me go through 30 parameters and I have to send you the audio engine, right? It's it can become a little bit annoying. You can imagine if you are down 3 function, 5 function, and you have to send this audio engine around just because down there somebody maybe wants to play a sound. It's a game, of course you want to play a sound, but you can go around it. So yeah, obviously I'm using it, and you know, if you look at the history, basically about a month ago I started this game in a different language, and then I switched to Godot for a week, and rewrote basically what I had in Godot, and then I switched back again to Rust. So obviously there are things that match with the way I code in Rust. I don't think it's perfect. I think if there was a language exactly like Rust, but without the borrow checker, I would be like, oh, fantastic, give it to me. Like, and I think actually there is a project that basically removes the borrow checker from the Rust compiler. I think I saw it somewhere on the internet. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to use it, but yeah. I totally forgot. We were turning off the sun. So in order to do that, weirdly enough, okay, it's right here. Okay, I was not expecting to find it here, but I'm happy it's here because that's exactly what I want. All right, so we turn off the sun and we see that our lights obviously don't have the right amount of intensity or anything or direction or whatever. I spent a while trying to get comfortable with Godot and came away just extremely unhappy. Well, you know what? Like, well, first of all, I like Godot very much, but I use C# with it, which is a language that I really appreciate. I really like. The other good news is that, and it's something that actually I debated for a long time in my mind, like, you can actually use Rust in Godot and it works really, really well. I mean, I only did like super simple experiments, but you know, it seems to be pretty solid. You know, the Rust extension system. So that my reason not to use Godot are not technical at all. It's just a stupid ego thing that I have, where I lose motivation if I don't feel like I made the game, right? So if I use an engine, I have this feeling that I didn't really make the game. So I really like the idea. It's not that I like the idea, is that I don't want to lose the motivation. I've been through enough times that I started to use an engine, got really excited because I could see progress happening very, very quickly. But then eventually I will lose interest in it, because I felt this kind of detachment from it, right? It's completely like personal stupid thing. Godot devs' priority seems to be very hard, leaning in the direction of accommodating beginners, following tutorials and doing little toy projects. Meanwhile, they put a huge amount of resistance to merging anything that is meant to make life easier for more serious projects. I'm not really that much into the communities, so I have no idea. I did have a look. There were a couple of things that surprised me a lot in Godot while I was doing things like trying to do some raycast for a simple car physics, and you can see straight away the fact that the result of raycast is a dictionary that you have to go and read by string. It's super weird. It definitely tells you, okay, probably performance is not really at the top level of their concern. If something like that comes back as a dictionary, where if I want to know the position, I need to, it's an hash map. I have to do a lookup into an hash map to get the result of the operation. It's not the end of the world, right? But imagine if your program does that, dozens of times, right? Imagine a racing simulation. You're running maybe 1,000 hertz, right? And you're shooting raycasts everywhere, trying to figure out your tires. Those are costs that actually adds up, right? And I was looking a little bit into the source code, and it seems to be heavily string driven. Like there is a lot of string lookup. What Kyoji? I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. Kryoji. I don't know what you're complaining about Twitch. Not sure. You're pinning your hope on Bevy. I don't know. I talked about this before. It's always obviously, I hope they can achieve what they want. To me, it looks like too much of a big agenda, like Jonah Blue says, right? If you start with big agendas, I think big agendas don't work very well in game development, right? Your big agenda should be finished the game. There are a couple of things that I really don't agree with Baby. First of all, WGPU, right? Nope. No. I'm not touching that. I think that's a big mistake. Actually, just before I started the stream, I was watching. There is a new presentation on YouTube. A guy was talking about using Bevy with native Vulkan. Which I think is probably a much better approach. If you need anything that might need some kind of ECS, it makes sense to start from Bevy, which is what what the guys in Tiny Glade did. In fact, it infuriates me when I read that Tiny Glade uses Baby. It doesn't use Baby. It just uses the easiest part of Baby, but then the renderer is another thing. It's not Baby. Yeah, and you know, the Shiji Man saying recasting was so confusing for me as well. Like, why don't they at least wrap that API with something that return a struct? From what I understand, it's just the standard way all their extension work. But it's super weird because, first of all, for example, if you are in something like C#, you're really used to dot navigate around the code, right? So I get this return from my raycast, I do dot, and I expect to see what I get as a return. And you get this dictionary and you go like, okay, now what? You know, what I'm gonna search into this dictionary, right? So you have to open the documentation and figure out whatever is called if you want to get the hit point or the normal or whatever. It's a weird choice, and sometimes that's how quickly your interest for some kind of technology can die. You know, you could be unlucky to. It just happens that you try to do something and that's something you don't like it, and you get the ick straight away. Because GDScript doesn't have struct, right? That's the answer. And who cares if you're using C++ or C#? Well, WGPU, I think it solves a problem that doesn't exist. And it solves it in a very cumbersome way. First of all, it forces you. The very first version of WGPU, you could. I went through this with a very old version of WGPU. So basically, I spent like a couple of weeks converting my sailing game to WGPU because I was like, you know, I had the Linux bug, and I was like, I really want the game to run on Linux. So I went through the process, and I was saying, okay, and if I do this, I also get the advantage that it will run on Vulkan, not, you know, because at the time WGPU was using Vulkan, or that it takes 12. So I was thinking, so is gonna be faster than my renderer, you know, what I'm using right now, that is DirectX 11 that I wrote. And I felt at the time that in that stage of the project, I really didn't want to learn the whole Vulkan. So WGPU is at the level where, you know, it's a little bit easier than Vulkan. So I went through all the process to convert it and to discover that the performance was terrible. It was like, you know, really slow, like, and it's a problem that is well known, and I think it kind was addressed, but I keep finding posts about people complaining about performance. The point is that you are trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist, right? If you having that kind of portability, no, I think it's very few people really care. Like, if you care about platform and if you care about performance, you're gonna write for whatever API is native for that performance, right? So with Vulkan, you get the two platforms that are open for everybody, that you get the only one that really makes sense, which is Windows, and you get the second one, which is Linux, which is, you know, a good add, but, you know, it doesn't really bring anything on the table. Realistically, if you want to bring your game to a console, you will have to rewrite the entire thing, right? There is no WGPU that will, it will be like, okay, forget it. Like, you can't go on the console. You will have to rewrite it. It's really relevant, right? And if you want to make a game that goes on mobile, right, what are you doing? I mean, you're either doing a game for a computer or you're doing a game for a mobile, right? How many companies are really doing both? So it's like, for me, it's solving a problem that doesn't need to be solved. Not that way anyway, right? I think the SDL GPU, the new thing that they release, it looks to me more sane. The WGPU, they look very similar, but it looks more sane. And then WGPU has this thing with the shaders. What I was saying is that at the time when I did my conversion for my sailing game, you could use Spear V shaders, so I could use most of my HLSL code from my sailing game, DirectX 11. It was easy to bring it over to the compiler that will compile HLSL to Spear V, and you could make it work in Vulkan in WGPU if you force Vulkan as a target. But now, from my understanding, you cannot do that anymore. So you have to write it with the WSL shading language, which is, I'm not going to learn a language to do that. Probably you could go around and do it with slang or whatever, but I feel like it's like, okay, what problem are you solving? You are not solving any problem. At the moment that I actually learned Vulkan, I was like, okay, so you're really not solving me, and the cost that I have to pay in terms of performance is not the cost that I want to pay. So it doesn't solve anything for me. That was a long run to say that there are things in Baby that just don't, for me, just keep me away from it, right? The reason the recast API returns us the dictionary is because it doesn't have struct. We went through this. They seem not to care about people using GD script. I don't know. I mean, I read that C# is, a second tier language. It's good enough for me. I mean, the reality is that I'm used to write my own engine. So whatever for me is accessible in Godot through C# is already way more and more usable than anything that I can do myself, right? So probably I don't see those problems. Yeah, I mean, I'm always keeping an eye on it. Every time they release something, I go and have a look at it. It's growing. I wish there was like a different. I wish that the Rust ecosystem was not so, because that's things like the way Rust works. You get all these things working together, and really designed to kind of work together, and they advance pretty much in lockstep. So you get all the winit, the GLRS for the input, Bevy. They all seem to kind of come up together. Personally, I wish that the Rust ecosystem was not eGUI was not so entangled with WGPU. I had big hopes for what the guy that did the Tiny Glade. No, what was the company? It was working with big game company. Was it Remedy? They had this. They still have this fantastic GitHub repository with amazing stuff in Rust, but sadly they gave up on it. So it's not happening from them. So we'll see. We'll see. Embark. Yeah. Correct. Embark. So sadly, that thing seems to have died out. And look, I understand. You know, that's the thing with Rust is a difficult. I don't have an answer for that, because I can imagine how complex must be to take a risk like this. And if you have a studio and you have a bunch of people that are C++ programmers, and maybe they have like decades of experience, and it's very unlikely that you will have a full house of people that are willing to invest the time to move to Rust, right? And you might have a couple of people that are very excited about it, and some people that are fighting against it, and then you're gonna bring problems into a company, and then it's gonna be your ass on the line. So I understand that it's a very tough decision to take, to take something like Rust, because it's not the kind of language that you can learn quickly. So it could get expensive very quickly, right? If you run out of developers and you need to go out and like, okay, we're looking for Rust game developer. Good luck finding them, right? It could get really expensive very quickly, and it's a big risk. It's a big risk. So sadly, I think the big companies are gonna be stuck with C++ for a long time. I don't see real alternatives in the future. Right, we can turn our sun off. Let's see if we can do something with that intensity. Minimum value 0, maximum value, I have no idea. Let's put 100 for now. All right, so let's go down to the lights, switch the sun off. Let's select this guy and let's ramp the intensity up. Not promising. So there is something here. Just out of curiosity, how my intensity was only so it's probably the range the problem, right? So our intensity probably doesn't have to be potentially that high, so we can put like this. We need the range. Probably the range is our problem. Let's see. It's sort of funny how much I don't care for Rust and its borrow checker for code where I don't need parallelization. And yet the tooling ecosystem has been getting so good that it's getting harder to ignore. You know, I'm not sure what you describe as tooling, but for me it was probably the quality of the Rust analyzer So the experience that I get from Rust with Visual Studio Code and the auto completion and the way I can, write my complete my match statement was actually a big factor in my decision in choosing Rust instead of Jai. Hoping Zig gets there 2-1 in these days. I really enjoy writing Zig. Yeah, see, I mean, it's funny how people can have the very different experience. I hate writing Zig. It's another language that gives me a lot of, why? It's like sometimes, you have, like, for example, like Rust, Unreal Engine Unity, right? So I never really made a game in Unity. I only done prototypes. And I ship a commercial game in a Unreal Engine. But, even after that, I can guess my way through Unity. Like, okay, I think I can guess where this thing is that I want to do. I can guess how things are called and where they are. In a Unreal is like, I have no clue. Like, if I don't go and Google and desperately try to find, I can never guess, how something is called, where it lives, how you're supposed to do it. And I ship a game with it, right? So it's like, there are technologies that just sometimes don't match with the way you think about code. And I think Zig for me is one of those technologies. I just like, I try to write the same things that I try to write the same stuff that I did in Jai and I did in so many languages. And with Zig, it's just a pain in the ass. It's like, and every time you download a new version, your code breaks and you have to go. I've been in the Jai beta for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And the number of times that my code really broke because of new version were really, really few. And I'm using it like all the time. Every time I want to try Zig, it's like, forget it. And I read that now they have this new backend that compiles much faster. What I was testing was like, it's the same approach to compilation that Jai has. So every time you build something, it rebuilds everything. And that obviously has problems, right? It has problems, the fact that it does that. Because basically it doesn't matter where your change is. You can have a change. You can change a string in your main function, and you can change something in your math library, and the compile time is going to be the same. And the compile times were pretty slow. Like I tried, for example, to download ZLS, which is the language server for Zig. If you try to build it in release mode, it's really, really, really takes a long time, right? So now they've gone to the same approach that Jai has. So a dedicated backhand that they use for debug builds, which obviously, hopefully, will bring the compilation time. Your game looks cool. I wonder what kind of stack you're using for your Rust game. It's mostly self-built, so there isn't much of a stack. The bindings I'm using I'm using Vulkan, so the bindings I'm using is Ash, which is pretty much, I think you have 2 choices at this stage in Rust. You either have Ash, which are more similar in a way to what you will write in C++. And then you have Vulcano, And from my understanding, Vulcano is a little bit more reimagining Vulkan API in a more Rust way. So I'm using Ash for that. There was a question about the IAM GUI crate that I'm using. I think it's, just called IAM GUI. Let me check. Yeah, it's just called IAM GUI 012. And it's nice because it's got this Vulkan renderer that works with it. And then that's my stack. This is Ash. This is the memory allocator. And then Winit for the Windows. And that's pretty much it. So not a big stack. I love Zig, and I love the philosophy behind the standard library API design. It's one of the closest language to how I mentally conceptualize code. I like the idea of the passing the allocator to the functions. I'm not a fan of the obsession that allocation can fail. Just because it's something that in my experience I don't so it's forcing me to write try stuff. So it's forcing me pain to solve a problem that for me doesn't even exist. The idea that there is literally, I mean, in a game, an allocation is failing, you crash the game. I mean, what you're gonna do about it, right? There isn't much you can do to recover from that. And it's a little bit like talking about exceptions, right? And then at this point becomes a religion, right? If I can recover from an exception, it's not an exception. It's a code path, right? So if I can recover from a failed allocation, then I should just check if I got null, right? So I like the idea of, but I really love the idea of sending allocators around. It's a very neat idea. On the other hand, there are things that I really enjoy in Rust. I really enjoy that I can clone something, just like that. And I don't have to go through. There are advantages and disadvantages in the way, So you can do it the Casey Muratori way. Obviously, Zig and Jai go in that direction, right? Where you think about big allocations. As opposed to something like Rust, where you're micromanaging the lifetime of objects, and sometimes Rust can be annoying, right? There are so many things. Like I was doing, especially after working with Jai, right? Every time I have to do something like this, here, like this is an allocation. I'm allocating every frame. I'm allocating this string, right? And this is something that in Jai you would do with a temporary allocator that will have no cost, right? So, yeah. That's pretty hardcore. Have you been using something before Vulkan? Yeah, I mean, I'm 53 years old, so I've been doing this for a long time. So yes, I've done all of it, right? So I've done DirectX. I've done 3D FX back in the late 90s, I think. 3D FX, OpenGL, then all the DirectX. I think the first DirectX that actually was usable for me was DirectX 9, then DirectX 11. I've been a big fan of DirectX 11 for a long time. I think DirectX 11 is the perfect level of abstraction for people like me that make games you know, try to make the engine and also the game. Vulkan is more than I would like to. It works in this case, I think, because my game is not trying to do anything, is not pushing anything. It's going to be quite simple, so it kind of works without being too complex. I've been hesitant between Bevy and SDL. Well, we were talking about this at the SDL. From the experiments I did, I like SDL GPU way more than Bevy, because Bevy you need to buy into the whole ECS thing, right? So if that's what you want to buy into, then obviously, you know, Bevy is one of the probably, you know, the most you know, breakthrough, like, you know, advanced ECS system out there. You know, potentially can do reordering, automatic multi-thread, so potentially can be really, really, really smart. But you need to buy into that. While SDL GPU, it gives you an option to do things in a different way if you want. How many people are going to test the code paths where allocation fail? The problem is really, I mean, what are we talking about? Right. On the PC is just not something that is going to happen. And if it happens on places like a console in a game, there isn't really much you can do, right? Other than, okay, it failed. Somebody will have to redesign the data structure to take less memory. There isn't really, now what, right? So it's something that I don't understand why the language has to be so obsessed about this idea that can fail, where, you know, I've been doing this probably for 30 years. It never happened, literally never happened to me, unless I did something really stupid, right? Really colossally stupid, that it was like, oh, this allocation failed. And if when it does, it's quite easy to understand what's going on, even in C++. But again, I work on games, right? So the point is that I think Zig is not designed for games. So, you know, I always say, like, I'm totally fine with the game crashing because nobody dies, right? But obviously, if you are coding for things like embedded or something like that, then obviously it's more for an airplane or for a car. Then you are in a scenario where, and probably that's probably where I see Zig could really work, right? You know, embedded system, low memory, and you cannot crash, right? So I'm always looking at this from a point of view of a game developer, where, you know, if your game is using too much memory, there is no recovery. You need to sort the original problem, which is that you're using too much memory. Speaking as someone who was using Zig for GBIA. Right. Zig design is so good for embedded development. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Memory allocation is probably only a problem in embedded world. Yeah. We're pretty much agreeing on the entire line here. Just allocate everything at the start, right? That's how you do it in something like a console or something like that, right? And then you have a very good understanding of where you are. You're not going to be surprised by it. And even if it happens, there is no recoveries that you can do at the moment, other than go back and rethink what is happening. I feel once you are memory constrained, you don't want to do memory allocation at runtime at all. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. But there are situations where you just don't want your program to crash. But is it worth to have the language, you know, completely designed around this? I don't know. They're kind of weird decision for me. It's like the warning, you know, unused variable is a compiler error, right? Super famous for that. Where are we? We should be able to test the intensity, the range, I think. But sadly, here we go. Here's our light. This was really like, the stage belongs to you. Interesting that, okay. So the range is just, okay, fantastic. Okay, that's good. So now what we need is the cone definition. So inner cone, and this is degrees, I think. So let's go to 180 or something like that. Inner cone. Now I could do two things when it comes to the outer cone, because yeah, I like to call it more like something like more usable, like penumbra cone, something like that, right? Where basically what we're going to do, we're going to add it to the inner cone, right? So we're going to do a temporary variable, right? And this is going to be, so this is going to be outer cone minus inner cone. Right? So we stick this in there. And if we change it, we put it back as a outer cone is inner cone plus penumbra. Sounds reasonable? Let's see. It sounds reasonable. Oh. But I feel very comfortable with embedded development, right? And I literally never done it in my life. So yeah, there you go. That's how I think our experience is obviously coloring the way we perceive technologies, right? Ah, shit, this is in radians. Okay, so, all right. First of all, I don't understand why is, so let's convert it. So we need to convert this inner degree is inner cone to degrees. Again. Am I doing this wrong? Ah, yes. Right. Because there are two ways we can think about this. We can think about it. Oof, what's going on here? Hold on. Let's do this so we can understand really what's going on. And maybe I should just give up. I mean, I don't understand this. They are not doing what I expect them to do. They are not really doing what I expect them to do. Is it already like a percentage or something like that? $65.45. I really don't understand. I don't remember how the math work on this thing. I need to have a look at the math. What's going on here? Why this thing didn't change? I really don't understand how this works. My math must be really bad in there. I don't understand at all. Let me grab 1 second render doc. Let's have a look if we are seeing the right stuff, if we are sending the right values. Let's do a capture where thing is that I expect this. So this is behaving more like a 1 minus, right? So making it smaller, it makes the angle open, right? And this one, super weird. 12, 4817. I mentioned the outer cone, you want it bigger. Let's also capture this one to understand what the hell we're sending. It is going to be all the same, but let's grab the chord just to be sure, right? All right, so pipeline state, fragment shader, globals. Lights count 6. Lights. Ah, shit, can I see this? Yeah, all right, okay. So this is what we're sending. I need to have a look at this. I need to have a look at this function again. Not sure what's going on. I will have to have a look at this map. Let's move on. Editor. So, do we want to change the direction? I don't think so. I don't even want to say it. Well, maybe we can kind of visualize it. Actually, let's do that. No, let me write the thing that I really need, which is the serialization. So save persistence. All right, so here's the thing. Here we'll have to send lights. And the lights is going to be an option of a reference to some rail lights. Okay. And I will write it. So if let some lights then we're going to go in lights ether and we do right and then right there. Light, and we put the name of the light. Reteln. Now the question, do I want to change the position? No, so probably I don't even have to save the position. So let's save the stuff that we can actually save. Okay, we can actually change, right? And those are the color. Shit, no, we need to save the type, right? So match like kind. Right. So the point, we leave it as a to do. And here we do reteln kind equal spot. Then we write the color. Okay. Then we write intensity. Then we write the range. Okay. So I think all right. Okay. So when we call save persistence here, we pass some lights. All right. Let's have a look. Save. And we go to Dropbox, games. All right, here's our lights. Ah, shit! I didn't put, I didn't put the. Let's go again. All right. Very well. Let's load it. Load persistence. Load persistence. The editor also calls this manually. So we're also gonna pass the light. So we're gonna pass again lights as That's how it works. Okay. So same thing. So it's an option of mutable light. All right. Okay. And we do we have to pass it here now. So here we actually do the thing. If let some light name equal as name strip prefix light. Then we have to check for the light names, right? So if let some light is lights ether mute find L name. Ah, shit. All right. Okay. All right. If let some so L name equal light name. Okay. So if we find this light, what's going on? Okay. On light. Cannot change a light type, so we will leave it like this. I think we just bet that is going to be there. So just do color is s find vector 3 color. And we unwrap, brutally unwrap. Right. Intensity s find 32 intensity unwrap range. Oops. That's pretty much it. So let's see if it works. So what we need here is interesting. So we need a mutable, something like this. Well, you know what? I'm so dumb because I don't have to send an option. I can actually send this. On the call site, I can, at that point, just send an empty array. So I don't have to do this, which is pretty annoying. All right. Sounds good. Okay. And then on the call site, obviously. So here we're going to send in mute self scene self. Ah, shit, fuck. Where are we? Lights. I'll write low resistance. And this is the, yeah. All right. So let's have a look if it works. So we come here, it's all good. So now let's change something. Port 1. Yep. Yeah. Save. Reload. Okay. So we can see that when the sun is there, whoops, when the sun is there, it's kind of creating a little bit of a problem. So we need to find the right intensity so it doesn't, obviously we don't want to overpower us. So let's go with 0.3, right? And we use the same, what is it, like this, 48, 50, 4628. So let's copy this. So this like 2 court 1. I'm doing this, but at the end of the day, these are wrong. So we say intensity was 0.4, right? 0.4. Range was 50. I forgot. 2248. 2248. I forgot. 4628. 4628. Right. Save. Right. And let's do this one. and we do pretty much the same. So intensity 0.4, range 50. I forgot again, 4628. Would be a good thing probably to have some kind of copy paste kind of thing. Could be something interesting to have. All right, save this, and then so this, and then like 2 core 2 0.4 50 46 is really weird. I really need to have a look at this formula. I have no idea what the hell I did to break it this way. So it's quite obvious now that this one is illuminated, this one is not illuminated. Right. Right. The thing that we still don't have though, so now if I launch the game, we should get those lights, right? I'm not getting any agentic AI. It's just a Rust analyzer. Is an LSP for Rust. All right. I'm not getting any light because I think I'm not loading them. So court avatar, right? I'm not using them. All right. Okay. So I think it's here. It's animation and then lights, right? And then scene, lights. Here you go. It's not, it's for the moment, at the moment it's really terrible, honestly. The character illumination is absolutely terrible. But it's okay. It's gonna get there eventually. Okay, right now we have this, right? So this court is got some sun, it's got lights, this court has got lights, this court has got no lights, right? It's not a huge difference, but this is a big ass window, so the ambient light is pretty high, so we're good. We're good. So we got the lighting stuff saved. So that's good. So lights persistence. I call persistence this idea that it's saving. The idea is that we have the GLB file that comes from Blender, and we save a file near it with the Unity will call it metadata or something like that, right? Which contains basically what we have changed. In the case of the lights, it's just dumping the entire thing, even if we didn't change it. Sorry for the noise. Put this up. What was the plan? What time it is? Okay, I'm gonna go another hour. So we did this. Court number selection with lights. Okay, now the problem is that court number selection with light. All right. What is the idea? So the idea is that we want to be able to play here, but also there, right? So how we do that? So let's add, and actually let me do something. Let me see if I can do it. Right, let me do something. So in launcher, what's the hot reload thing? Enable hot reload. On hot reload. Right. So what I would really like to do, can I bring the window? Because I was, you know, if you remember the stream from some days ago, my idea was to keep the window as topmost, but it creates so many problems with debug. So I wonder if focus window is gonna bring it up. I'm really hoping that focus will bring it up. I don't think so. So the idea is that we want to bring that tests form here, right? And we want to, all right, it works, right? So I saved, boom, and it brings me the thing so I can see the result of my change. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. So what we want is another spinner. Court number, right? Something like this, right? Court number, and you know, but one. For now, we can just put 1 and 2. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So, how is this going to work? Somewhere there is a match data, right? And here we have the court data. My cat is going crazy. I don't know if you hear it. I'm not sure this is what the launcher is really writing. I also want to do this here. 1 second. Do I want to do this now? Events, form event. Form event is a widget name. I really don't want to do this now. Match data type. Okay. So next match data. Match data. Court data, court number. And this is going to be I have to do all the dance. This is not great. Let's do something. I had this in hydrofoil generation, otherwise you go crazy. We go crazy here. Spinner, self name string, and we return an option of widget. Spinner, right? And basically what we do is if let some spinner self find widget name, we can actually yeah, some spinner. I can probably no, because I cannot match it, right? So I have to do it like this. I don't think there is a more I don't think there is a better way to do it. Expected type found a variant. How did I do this in hydrofoil generation? Did I have hold on. I have a structure called spinner. Right, so so the widget, yeah, like this widget spinner spinner, right? That's it. How I do this? How I do this? Don't tell me that if some. How did I do this in hydrofoil generation? I mean, what's the difference? All right, here we go. All right, that it looks like. So in theory, so this is a little bit better than going all that. It's still not great, but you know, at the end, we only need one thing. Is the number of this guy, and this is going to be self-form spinner. It's going to be spinner core number. How did we call this? Court number, yeah. All right, and we unwrap it, and we do selected index +1. Okay. And that, if we have to load the sim, next match data clone. Okay. So we create the tennis level. Okay. So now, so match avatar gets all this stuff. Who got the court matrix? Here it is. So we have to initialize this court matrix. All right. And how we're going to do that? So in order to do that, we need the 3D model for the court. So we create the court here, which is good news. Right. What we could do is to have like court. So this court avatar is more like a club avatar, right? It's got a series of courts. So for now, we can do like a court transformed matrix, right? Which is a vector of math, right? And how we're going to do this? What's the best way to do this? It's probably to, yeah, it's probably to cycle all the bones. So model in model data bones. All right. And what we could do is the problem is that we really want them in order. So let's have a look 1 second how these are called. So what we're looking for. I have a feeling that I have to create the name and then look for it. So court 1, court 2, court 3. I have a feeling that I have to look for them. I cannot really bet that they will be in order, right? So what we could do is we could do like court matrix bone name is going. So we're going to start with court 1. Right. And then we're going to loop. Right. And then we're going to say if let some bone is model data bone my name, court bone name. So we need some kind of index. Let mutable current index. Right. Current index, we start from 1. We go inside here and we create the string. All right. And if we find it, what are we returning here? We're returning an option bone, which is fine, right? If we find it, then we do mutable court. Okay, and then we do current index +1, right? Otherwise, if we don't find it, we break. Cool. So this is court matrices. All right. Then, when we create our match avatar, we need to pass in, right, the court matrices. All right. And now we can say that the court matrix, right, is going to be if data court data court number is less than court matrices len, then it's going to be court matrices data court number. Otherwise 0. And this is going to be -1. No, this is going to be -1. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be an identity. Sweet. I think that's it. So yeah, match avatar. Now we pass in the court matrices. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Right. So let's give it a try. So we should play on court 1. And we are on court 1. Court 2. And we're playing on court 2. All right. That's cute. That's nice. All right. That's good. What time it is? Let's turn the lights. Let's turn the lights on and off and finish the day. So court avatar, So core tab. Okay, so one thing is that I don't think... So the surprising stuff about the lights is that I don't have a way to turn them on and off. Although I remember, was it my Jai? Maybe I did it in Jai. Map lights. All right. Okay. So what's going on here? So this is mapping it in the thing, but there is no filter. I thought this should be really easy, right? Because all I have to do... Hold on, let me go back to that code. System buffer. So we are resizing... Right, so we don't really know how many lights we're going to put in it. So this one, I think I need to do two passes. I don't see, because I either do an allocation, which is ugly, or I do two passes. I think I need to do two passes. Like, you know, so first we figure out how many lights there are. So I can do, like, you know, light count should be scene, lighting, lights, ether, filter, active, count, right? So all we need is that active, light. The problem is that the diff... okay, so the problem is going to be whoever creates this. So we're good. So now we know how many light count we need. Right. And here we do this, but we also filter for L active. That's it. All right, so the only thing is we have to now make those light active. So when we create a light, are we in the GLTF? All right, so we default to true. Right. Where did I go? So we default to true. Change the intensity to 0. Yeah, no, but if you do that, you're still doing the calculation, right? You're still going through the calculation if you do that. If you put the intensity to 0. Right. So, I mean, you could, instead of having an active thing, you might have an intensity you know, put the intensity to 0, but I think it's way more clear to have an active, right? So if we go back to the editor, to the inspector tab, now what we can do is we could do a UI checkbox. Active. Right, and the lights. And we can check if it works. I passed the test. All right, so let's turn the sun off. So we got only the lights, right? And then we can do poof. Ah, it's broken. Whoops. Somebody didn't pay. Boop. 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 Cool. Great. All right. This works. So back to the tennis. Back to the game. So now our court avatar could also have... Okay. So I think we should put these two together. We should have a matrix for the court, and we should also have lights for a particular court. So we need another structure. How are we gonna call it? Because this is already court avatar. Court data, we already have it. So how are we gonna call this? Court features. Court features. Can imagine that if I have stuff in these courts in the future, they might go there. Let's go with court features. I really don't have a better name for this. And this is gonna be a vector, because I think my original idea was like, okay, only the lights that are part of the scene are going to go into the light vector. Which is not really a bad idea, right? So imagine a situation, so this could be a vector of light, right? And I could have a situation where I have an update on the court avatar and it's adding a bunch of lights to the scene. So this is not actually a bad idea. So let's try to do it this way. Let's see what happens. I think it's not a bad idea to do it this way. Hey, hold on. Where is light graphics? Right, and then we go court features, right? And it's a vector of court features, right? So what I could do is, here I found the bones for that. So tentatively, I could say, so if I find the bone, right? If I find the bone, I could try to find the light, right? So the light name, right now, I get it. You're making tennis hole manager game. Plan the game in tournament, gather the ball boys and girls, plan the empire. That was not the idea. So light name. So light name is gonna be light. The problem is that the names are wrong. I don't think I can do this today because the names are wrong. Well, I could do like, you know what? I can do like postfix, something like this, right? Okay, so I can do like this, right? I can do court and then number of the court, current index. All right. Then what we're gonna do, and hold on because we're gonna do it really in a functional way. So what is happening is that we're creating a court feature. Court feature is gonna be court feature. Court features. Okay. Right, and this is going to be. Hold on. This is going to be court matrix. It is going to be one matrix. All right. So the matrix is going to be the bone matrix. Matrix is going to be the bone. So that's easy. Lights is going to be, here it comes the functional one-liner. It's going to be lights ether filter, where the name ends with our postfix, like name postfix, collect. Cannot be built from an element of shit. I need to create a copy, right? So map light clone. Can you do it now? No field called matrix, court matrix. Look at this. Look at me being functional, all functional. I'm sure that there is a better way to do this. Is it into? Because if I do into ether, no, I cannot do into ether. I think I'm good with this. I think I'm happy with this. Right. So now core. So core. Fuck. Features. Right, so this becomes court features. Right. And court features, we add the feature. And in here becomes court features. Happy? Happy. All right. So now we need to change the thing here. And I mean, at this point, I think there is absolutely no reason to pass in all this stuff. I think I can just pass in a matrix. I can pass in a court matrix, and I do it outside. There is no point in doing all this. So court matrix is court matrix. Right. I'm gonna do it out. Right. So I'm gonna do it here. Right. Okay. And I'm gonna do it as a method of court avatar, where I go like, you know, fn court matrix, right? And I pass in the court number, and I return matrix, right? And so if court number is, so court number, so it's a little bit tricky here. So we assert that court number is more than 0. Right. So we transform it in 0 base. Right, and if court number is less than self court features len, we return self court features court number matrix. Otherwise, identity. So we back into this stuff here. No field matrix on court features, court matrix, for fuck's sake. All right. Okay. So the idea is that now here I can just send court matrix match data, court number. There you go. Use or move value. Fuck. Okay, all good. So this should just do exactly what we were doing before. And then we're almost ready to do the lights. Right, so court 2 just to test. And it's court 2. All good. So now for the cool stuff. Right, so we go fn update. And I don't think we need to change ourselves, but we pass in a scene. And we pass in we pass in a match state, I think. Now the big problem is that the match state doesn't really know. So we don't have, so what we would like to have is the court number. So this is not a big problem. So court number. And to create is not difficult because we have the data, so we should know this stuff. Court number is self data court number, court data court number. So easy. All right. So here, so we know now in which court we're playing. Okay. So we know in which court we're playing. I think you can make a spin-off, tennis hall tournament sponsoring. So you have to sell sponsors. Okay, so what's the idea here? The idea is that we grab the scene, lighting, lights, and we clear it up, right? And then we simply get the feature. So then we cycle the lights. So for lights in self court features, match state, court number +1, -1, lights, ether, right? Scene, lights, lighting, lights, push, L. That's it. It's annoying. You know what I don't like about this system is the fact that because I added the name, I'm now forced to do clone here. And that means that I'm cloning the string. So I'm doing a clone of a string every single frame for every light, forever, which is really, really not something that we should do. Probably that was one of the reasons why I didn't have the name in the light to start with. Just kills me to do it this way. I really don't want to take that allocation. I don't want to do it. How can I do this? The alternative to this is to leave all the lights in the scene and have indices. And then I flick the switch basically. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. So basically, sadly, we cannot do this. So this is going to become a vector of indices. And the way to do this is not that difficult. It's a little bit annoying because we have to do this. And now we have to do this. And now we have to do this. And now we have to do this. Yeah. All right. So we got the indices now. And what we're going to do, we just make sure that, so we don't do this. Nope. Right. But we do this. So we do the lights at the index L. It's active true. Okay. So update tennis level. Update tennis level. We get the, where is it? Update step to time, match state, update camera system, self court. Now we are using it. Update, and we pass in the self scene and the match state. Okay, one last thing that we're left to do is that when we load the stuff, we should also turn the lights off. So the way we're going to do it is that when we map it, we also do, so we grab the lights and we also turn it off. Can we? If I want to do it here on the fly, I have to do it like this, which I think it's doable. All right, that all sounds reasonable. Bella ste DLS5. Ho visto qualche video. Controverso, direi controverso. All right, okay, so in theory, we have lights here and we have no lights here, which I think we don't. We don't have lights here. That's the sun, but we have lights here. All right, and with it. Okay, let's go to court 1. Right, so now we have lights here, and we can notice that by this ugly banding that I will have to sort out because it's really disgusting. It's terrible. I have no idea what's going on here. It's really bad, but lights here are off. So that's all good. Let's finish the day by finishing up the court 3. The netting between the courts looks good. Today, I'm glad that you notice it. I'm glad that you notice it. Today, it's not finished. I ordered a couple of fixes. Like, first of all, it's too high. You guys want to see the... You want to see the actual court. Where I had this stuff. Where is it? Backup. No, there you go. Yeah. So that's Dekker. So that's the chord that I was playing in the Netherlands. So the net is way lower. It's way lower. And there should be something in the middle to where you can pass. Yeah. Well, we put that today. I'm glad that you liked it. All right. Where are we? Chord 3, light 1. So we were saying, so intensity is 0.4. Range is 50. So we're turning on the lights over there. And definitely tomorrow morning, I'm going to have a look at this situation with this number that don't make any sense at all. It looks to me like they're completely inverted, but I really don't understand what I'm seeing right now. So I'm just putting the numbers and living with it. Right. And then chord 3, intensity 0.4, range 50. My graphic artist should really be the one doing this, not me. I just wrote it now on the stream. So, all right, so we can see the situation here with the chords. So now we can, what we expect to see is something like this, like, this turns off, this turns off, boom. Oh, that's interesting. What the hell is going on there? Did I touch? It's super strong. How come there is so strong this light? It's behaving very differently from the other. Is this one, right? No, it's not this one. What the hell? I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Found a bug. All right, so the problem is we're putting the wrong number of lights. So light count, we also have to write it here. All right. I should fix it. Dovevano prendere... Troppo buono. Troppo buono. So let's see if I can turn off the lights without breaking everything. Poof. Poof. All right. Looks good. Looks good to me. Bang. Bang. So can we play on chord 3 and call it a day? I'm gonna tell my wife. She will be very happy. She likes Kratos. We never play on chord 3, so is it gonna work? Wow, look at us on chord 3. We're such rebels. We go play on chord 3. And the lights on the other chords are off. Maybe we could use a little bit stronger lights. But you see, the big problems that we have right now is the illumination of the character when... I mean, now, we have lights, so they're kind of okay. But, yeah, they kind of get this reddish color when they are in the shadow. So, yeah. I think we're done. I think we're done for the day. So it's gonna be a night model. Yeah, that is like I'm already like I totally like did like an own goal. The moment that I ask Chucks to do me this court, because I really didn't consider that I didn't have anything in the illumination to actually support playing, you know, in a situation like this, where the sun was not going to be there. And I still don't have I still don't have a solution. I was watching a video presentation of, because it's not an easy problem, getting anime characters illuminated by multiple lights and so on. It's tricky. It's very tricky, especially the face, because the face you really want to basically control, have a lot of control of what's going on. So you can't just render it. So when it comes to shadows and stuff like that, in fact, you see they don't really get shadows on the face. So it needs a lot of dedicated stuff. You know, you think it's easy, like everything. You know, a lot of things look easy, but then when you start to actually dig in and try to make it happen, they're not that easy. So there is a lot of work to do, but I definitely want to start working on the game a bit more. These days I've been doing a lot of preparation, so improving the editor, make sure that I have what I need for the UI and so on. So I definitely want to come back and do something. Now we have the hair moving. I still don't have the colliders. I still have to write the code. So boring for the editor to put the colliders in. But at least now I have a situation where the hair are way more stable. Actually, yesterday I had a terrible day. I went to sleep with the game completely broken and very unhappy. And as it's often quite the case, I woke up and I solved it in like 10 minutes. Like the amount of productivity that I have in the morning is insane. The more the day goes, the more I'm definitely not a night developer. In the morning, I just go at a different speed. So now everything looks a little bit more stable, the way the girls move. I was able to tame down a little bit the hair. They're still moving. And don't have the collider, but you know, it looks all right. It looks all right. I think for the game, the next thing I want to do is to try to do something like a drop shot. Right now, the rallies are very... There isn't much you can do, really. And also start to work on the different skills for the players. So it feels different when you play a different player. So I'm hoping that at the end of this week to be able to actually work on the game. Oh. Yeah, I understood the meme. I know the meme from a set that didn't have night racing. All right, this is all working. So yeah, we imported lights and court matrices from 3D model. I feel like I did a lot of things. Feel sad to recap with this. What did I do? Well, okay, yeah. Yeah. Added active light switch. Right. Felt like I did more stuff. Really, this is what I did. This is what I did. Feels like a lot of work. Right now, the quality of the code is like, I'm not super happy. I'm rushing a lot of stuff. I see a lot of things like, this should be different. But you know, it is what it is. I think we're good. 3 hours, 9 minutes. We can call it a day. Thanks a lot, guys, for spending some times. And I will see you next time. Ciao, 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 ciao.